Good afternoon, everybody. This is a weekly meeting of Board of Selectmen with our public safety officials to discuss any ongoing events, COVID-related in particular, or anything that comes up of an emergency type nature. We're gonna, because it's easy for me, start with
Pretty quick report today. Yesterday, Bob notified us of one contact case in town. It wasn't a confirmed case. And actually, in the system, it was just listed as a Halifax resident. There wasn't an address or anything attached to it. So, but it wasn't, in any event, it was just a contact jersey, not a confirmed case. Bob and I met with Matt Durkee over at the school on Monday morning to kind of talk about the cafeteria plan and how they would run the cafeteria. I think it was a good meeting that brought out a lot of good ideas. I don't know, Gordon, if it was.
We haven't talked about it at the meeting yet, so if you want to give the update.
Some of the things that we looked at was using the all-purpose room and the cafeteria as eating areas. Because when the kids are eating, they have to have their masks off, therefore maintain the 6 feet of social distancing. So the thought was that if we can set up tables in the all-purpose room and have tables set up in the cafeteria, use one side, have assigned seating so when the kids walk in, they know exactly where to go, have the lunches brought out to them. I brought up like the cruise ship idea. Instead of, we talked about putting hand sanitizing stations. Well, the cruise ship, when you go into a dining area, you have someone stand there and just spray your hands as you walk in and to disinfect your hands. The other things we talked about was potentially if they didn't take cash this year, would eliminate the need to have students go up and interact with the cashiers, keeping track of it all through like through the
program, yeah,
system they have might be helpful. And then at the change in lunch, the next group of students, so one group, they come in, have lunch in the all-purpose room. When they're done, the next group will go into the cafeteria, and during that time, the custodial staff will have time to disinfect the all-purpose room and just keep swapping out the two classrooms. You know, there's a lot of unknowns because we still don't know in what capacity the students will be coming back, so we don't know how many. We don't know what if we have to plan for like half of the students at one time. Or
yeah, the survey closed yesterday, so we're supposed to get the results on Friday of what people were saying.
Yeah, so once we know, that would give us a better idea of how many kids we're talking about. Like Matt said, there'll probably be a lot more on the way of wasted food, only because instead of the kids coming in to be able to pick and choose what they want, they'll be the meals will be set up in advance and just handed out to them. So might see some additional waste in food, but it'll eliminate. It's going to be almost impossible to have them stand in line with social distance, especially kids of that age. So
yeah, you got to get them through.
Yeah, have them just come in and sit in your assigned seat and that's it. So I thought that was a pretty good discussion, and I think once we know more from your committee at the school, we'll give some more direction there. Other than that, restaurants, Rob, Bob, and I today went over to Robbie's Kitchen. He wants to do outdoor seating as well in the front, so we're going to have to bring in some jersey barriers just we don't want to see a car come up on that sidewalk and hit someone. So he's just going to put a couple out in front. He has two little patio areas on both sides of the front door.
Yeah, that's new.
Yeah, I think he plans on just putting like 2 tables on each side.
Is this the new pizza place down there?
Former
Halifax pizza.
Bellows, all kinds of stuff, yeah.
So yeah, he's looking to open up real like pretty soon. So he presented that outside seating plan, no tents or anything involved in that one. So it's just strictly outside.
He contacted Pam this morning about his common vic license, so it is coming up soon.
Okay, yeah. And then Grill 58, we went over there, and they have the tent set up. Take right by there, you see the tent. It's fairly small. I don't know the exact square footage yet, but I think it's gotta be around 20 by 20, something around that.
Did he give you his NFPA ratings and all that?
He emailed that over the NFPA thing on the 10th, and he ended up, he was originally going to rent the Jersey barriers that could fill with water, but he actually brought in concrete 4,000-pound
Oh, the
barriers.
blocks?
Yeah, blocks, because he was able to get them without renting them, so that worked out for him. But it's a small area just to give people an option to eat outside.
Is that on the left side of the building?
Yep,
Yeah.
basically it's right on the left side.
That makes the most sense, actually.
Just a couple parking spaces. I think he's got a fan that he was putting up inside the tent just to kind of circulate air around. And I think his opening date now, he had pushed it back a couple times, and I think what his plan now is to open up on the 29th. And then he said it'll take, 2 weeks out from there to make the decision on when for opening up. Other than that, I don't know.
You see the council on aging got their tent up.
I did see that. I wasn't sure what their intended, what their plan was
I think the 29th, 28th.
to have an outside event.
Yeah.
Yeah, I saw that tent set up the other day.
Well, thankfully, it's summertime, and we can take advantage of the fact that we don't have that terrible weather other than the heat, but, which isn't particularly good for the elderly, but
Right.
I speak for myself in that, but
That's all I have.
I have an update on the buses. The bus guidelines were released today by DESI, and it takes a 77-passenger bus will only be allowed to carry 25,
wow.
and a 47-passenger bus will be limited to 15.
So
It
that-
could be increased if you have siblings in the seat next to you. You're allowed to have a sibling next to you.
Basically, a third of what it is.
Yeah, so
So you
we
need-
have 10, for the elementary school, we have 10 buses. For the high school, junior high, we have 9 buses. So right now, I know the run for the bus drivers starts about 10
9
minutes,
o'clock in the
10
morning.
minutes of 6 that they're picking up the furthest kids down here. So if they have to do 3 runs,
Yeah,
what does that do to the start time of the elementary school? And if the elementary school has to do 3 runs, how are we gonna do this?
Yeah, right. Wow, what a logistical nightmare.
So that's new information. We have, tomorrow, we have the task force meeting again. We had one on Tuesday. But we'll have to incorporate that. We're gonna have to request a waiver for the amount of time in the school day. Because if we're looking at that situation,
Sorry.
I have no idea how you get the kids into class without being an hour spread out. What
The
is the teacher?
logistics of that is man-made, no?
So are we already looking at an A-B situation? If the bus, and is it gonna be like that? The way we used to do kindergarten was one side of the town was the morning, the other side of the town was the afternoon?
We're looking at ABC now. If
Possibly,
we're talking a third.
possibly. So should we even be discussing going back?
Yeah, I don't know how you could do it logistically.
And I'm sure there aren't,
Unless you stagger the day, but then you can't,
but you can't stagger the teachers that are there.
well, I understand. The teachers have to be on board with that.
And, I mean,
And you're still doing extra runs. You're running your buses 3 times as long.
so the other questions are, right now we have guidelines for baseball and other sports, right? So the kids are allowed to play sports, but yet we're gonna put them in the school, and then those guidelines that they're using outside are completely different for inside.
Yeah, 3 feet, that kind of thing.
So if you have to wear a mask or 6 feet, now they're saying you have to wear a mask and 3 feet in the
It's
schools.
impossible to do
I
it.
don't see the youngsters.
How do you get the kindergarten class
Yeah,
that's
that's what
supposed to
I'm
walk in line, not being from the kindergarten wing to the gym
Right.
with that spacing?
Yeah.
And it's 3 feet if you're facing forward. That's what Bob Ballard
Yeah.
said. It's 3 feet if everyone's seated and facing forward.
So,
So as soon as you go like that, you're
Yeah,
now
6 feet.
violated.
Right.
Yeah, right. I
so
don't see how it
the
works.
pickup drop-off, we know is a nightmare
All the
without
time.
COVID. So, is there any way we could look at changing the location of the buses to be where the parents go. If they're dropping, not for pickup in the afternoon, but for drop off, or does it make sense to have the buses drop off at the gym and have the parents drop off in front? Because it seems like there's gonna be way more traffic.
Where are the parents? One of the things we did, I don't know how many trees Steve Hayward actually took down. Like a year or two ago, Kim.
Right.
We took down more just recently too.
Yeah, we went on there, we had a meeting because we wanted to be able to put like 3 rows of cars to stop the backup on Plymouth Street. If you haven't, because there's so many parents that drive.
Right.
So if you move them to the front of the school, I don't know where that line would
It'd
end.
be out on 106.
Well, the other thing is, we don't know how that's going to affect pickup drop-off for parents, depending on what we do with the bus.
Well, so the first feedback that I got was that 50% of the parents would be looking to drop off.
That's
But
what
I
we did.
don't know how many people took the survey, so I don't have
Right.
that
So
aspect
that's
of the
it.
data.
So what was the estimate before?
There were about 100 cars going to pick up drop off. There's about 100 kids. Anywhere between 60, but 100 was the max number. Then we added the other bus last year, and the numbers dropped.
So 100 kids or 100 cars?
100
Yeah,
kids.
that's because it was taking some kids 45, 50 minutes
To get
to
home.
school. Yeah, to get home.
Yeah,
And
And get in the
to-
morning, depending on which
And
one.
that's not counting, industrial as far as people dropping off supplies, food supplies and other stuff.
I think that we really have to go over there again and probably lay out at least 3 rows to get the parent,
So
Because it's only going to get worse, not better.
I know before, when we had the construction there, the fence and the trailers were there.
Yeah.
And then the staff is going back to park there again. I don't know if it's worth really taking a look at the library parking lot, expanding the library parking lot to put the staff in the expanded parking area at the library so that you open up that space for the drop-off.
Is it too far for them to walk?
I think it'll be okay because they do park at the library right now. So
I'm sorry. I couldn't resist.
So if we look at expanding the parking lot there for the staff, maybe that'd open up that side of the building for the pickup drop. Because right now what happens when the parents come in, they're stopping where the kids are, or they might go up, the first line might go past the gym doors. But I think if we looked at 2 lines at least that far and trying to make that radius, because right
2
now,
rows of cars, you mean?
yeah, up to the parking area. Because right now what happens is when you drive in there, it's just 1 car.
Well, it was supposed to be when he cut
Once you
those
make that
streets.
turn,
Once you make the turn, it just goes to 1 lane.
It was supposed to
Yeah,
have been
yeah, and
3
it's always
lanes
going to be a
when they-
bottleneck. The idea was just to get the traffic off the street.
Yes.
When they took those trees down, it was supposed to, the purpose was to have 3 lanes coming out of it.
But it goes 3 lanes out at the street,
Then it narrows down.
but
to one.
then it narrows down once you make that turn to 1.
It's too bad we can't have a roundabout where to go around the school building and come out like the police
Yeah,
station is.
you'd have to do a huge amount of work out there to get that.
because that's the other thing, is how, when they bring these kids out now, they're gonna go.
Well, how long is the line of the kids gonna be
Exactly.
waiting? Because right now, they wait over at that walkway that comes
Yeah.
down and they're right next to each other. So are we gonna be calling kids from the classroom? Your parents here, you have a 4-minute walk to the,
Yeah, right.
I don't know the logistics of those items, let alone running the school day.
Yeah.
But it's these items I think I have a better sense of
Is
than
Kane part of that task force?
Yeah.
He is?
Kane and Brian are on the task force, so isn't Matt. So Matt knows at least Halifax's layout.
Right.
What's the state saying? Have they come up with any new regs on that?
Well, the new regs today are the buses that they came up with, they're dropping 77 buses capacity down to 25.
So are our buses 77 passengers or 40?
4 of the buses are the larger capacity, 6 were not.
And we're
They were
talking-
like 66s.
Well,
And
we're pretty full, right?
yeah, so the 4 bigger buses, I want to say, are the 77s or 75 or 73. I guess it's going to be one whole row's missing. And then there were 6 of the smaller buses. So when we redid the contract, I specifically said, please make sure we have larger buses for Halifax. because we need them. But now it looks like all the buses, we would need to have the larger capacity.
How many kids are we talking about for the elementary?
600 students.
600?
And that's as of now, right?
Right. And I mean, you've seen that the New Hampshire's district schools are increasing because people are going to send their kids from their, their second family. They're going to live there now instead of it being their second home. So are we going to see more people try to spread out of the city and come here? I don't know. I mean, it's a possibility, but we're around 600 kids. The biggest that we got up to since I've been on is 628.
I think there would have been more impacted that years ago when people had a lot of second homes down
Yeah,
here.
now we're pretty much primary.
Yeah, pretty much primary. Yeah.
How do you make any of these decisions on whether that was like, so we talked about even to do that cafeteria operation, it's gonna take additional people who have to be involved in that than the regular course of the school day, when we don't even really have a good grasp on the budget.
Well, yeah,
Well, that's the other.
I sent a message to Kathy yesterday, asking her if she could get us the Chapter 70 ballpark numbers as soon as possible. And she said she still doesn't have them.
The only thing that I saw that was the positive, Chapter 90's money, didn't take anything out of it.
Well, it's because they're bonding that.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm talking about, but the only thing they got going for them right now. But unless we get a bigger school for live-in students, I don't know how you're gonna do this.
From all the feedback that I'm getting from people right now, there's certainly one group of people that wants the kids to go back and have some sense of normalcy. There's another group that are saying, here's all the issues with everything, regardless of the logistics, just the virus itself.
Right.
If there's an outbreak, it's going to hit the schools first
And
to
it
spread,
like crazy.
and especially if people have intergenerational homes, it will affect more people. So there's the part of me that says we should go back and we need to deal with it. There's the other part of me that says the logistics are so hard to understand. Does it make more sense to just plan for a remote right now?
And we've already either purchased or are in process of purchasing.
So those won't come in until December or January at this point in time.
Okay, that's unfortunate. How many units are involved in it?
We said 600.
I know.
We're just talking about
No, that's a good thing.
we're just talking about the guidelines that came out for the schools today.
Oh, good. I forwarded to Chief the guidelines and that.
Okay.
It'll be tough.
It seems like the projected opening day was August.
End of August, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think our first day back is September 2nd this year. So I don't think so. I thought because the primary was supposed to be the first of it must be the first, I
It's the
think,
first, September 1st.
Yeah.
because that's the Tuesday.
Yeah.
So we said we wouldn't open before that because we didn't want to deal with the logistics of both Kingston and Halifax dealing with the schools being open for a day and then having the voters there.
Right.
So we're supposed to open up on that Wednesday. Kindergarten is being pushed back. Kindergarten registration will start that week. And I think the first day of kindergarten would be the day after Labor Day, the Tuesday after Labor Day. Because kindergarten is not a required
Right, and
grade.
there isn't a minimum amount of days
Yeah.
attached to that.
So that was going to be the plan to deal with those students.
So I imagine that the discussion's already taking place. Is it part of your task force to say, okay, one student comes back positively, what now? When
Yeah,
one
well-
teacher comes in and she's positive.
So basically the first meeting was more get to know everybody and talk, and we broke up into small groups, but everybody was really just verbalizing what everyone's going through and what their thoughts are. We really didn't crack down on,
Yeah, it's a
What-
meet and greet session.
Yeah,
So-
but the scary part about it is that the latest statistics showing that the virus is starting to attack younger people, 20, 30, 40 years old is mutating to you start tracking younger.
So, I mean, if there's direction from you guys on what you, I mean, I asked Bob, Bob was, you thought we should be remote if you had a say, right?
One of the fears I have is, ever since school started, before COVID, what happens 2 weeks into September? Every kid comes home with a runny nose, coughing, wheezing, sneezing, the exact same signs as COVID. So the kid might have a flu, the kid might have a cold, the kid might have puffy mouth, the kid could have any number of infectious diseases that happen in school on a regular basis. And everybody's going to say it's COVID. And then
It starts a chain reaction.
it starts a whole chain reaction and a whole testing thing that you might have to be prepared for.
Well, that was one of the questions, is
Do we
are we
test
gonna
everybody?
require testing before we allow the kids to go to school? I can't see doing that.
According to Matt, Matt Durkin said that they're already getting feedback from parents that they don't even want the kids.
And we don't want the kids tested.
Let alone being COVID tested.
Well, so
The easiest thing is the temperature taking, but even that slows everything down.
there was feedback from some on the school committee that were against it as well,
Right.
which to me, I think the first line of defense is you get the temperature check, and if you spike, then you go to the nurse for a real temperature.
Yeah.
Ideally, if everybody's checked before they go in, at least you have a baseline in which to start from. So if anybody does get sick, then you can go from there. But if you're going in blind,
I don't think that's an unreasonable precaution. I don't know how logistically that plays out, but I mean, it's the easiest thing you can do.
We did it at Town Hall in Marshfield. As long as the government's working correctly.
Well, that's, yeah.
You know, you can blast through people just like this, you know?
That's what we're doing in Plimpton. You can't get in the building without having your temperature checked in the morning,
Right.
or any time during the day.
But I
That
had
includes the
4
public.
models, and I could get 4 different readings off of all 4 of them. But one of the ones I purchased for myself, it was short, I mean, it was $40, and that thing's been working terrific. And I use it every single day.
So is this group okay with temperature checks? If you would,
I think it leans towards the safe side. If you, like I said, if you have a baseline, I realize this is intrusive, and people's religion or their beliefs may not allow them to do it. But at the same time, as Spock said, the one of the many is more important than one of the one.
Everything has unintended consequences.
Well, yeah, so, we've got a line of kids, they're all 6 feet apart. This kid tests high. Now all of a sudden.
Everybody came in contact with it.
Yeah, right.
Everybody's gonna say, oh, again, it doesn't mean he has COVID. Now he's getting singled out.
Right.
And all the kids in the school are looking at him like, you're the one.
Yeah.
Everybody loves to point fingers.
And then somebody's parent has to be advised that this kid can't come to school, so now you're trying to get a hold of somebody that may be working and bring them back. But does it offset the potential? There are no good answers to any of this.
Well, yeah, that's just it. No matter what we do, it's going to be wrong.
Right.
Which is all.
well, it's gonna be 50% of people are gonna be upset either way
Yes.
this decision goes, so
Yeah.
I guess,
Personally, I'm not opposed to temperature checking,
okay.
with its obvious drawbacks.
It's not intrusive in what they're doing, so you're not physically hurting the kid and doing anything to them that changes.
And you're not bogging down the actual temperature. You're just there'll be a checkbox that says W and L within normal limits. So now you're not having any possible,
Right.
complications with having a record of every kid in the school's exact temperature.
Do we even need to log it?
That was one of the questions, is what should it be logged?
I would think that you want to know who get tested, maybe if you don't log it, you just check off or what?
Yeah, the thing is.
Well, I think we're gonna have to come up with a system. Do they get sent to the nurse? Do they just,
Would each teacher be issued a thermometer?
Well, so that was another thing that came up because, yeah, so there are so many different,
oh, that's what I'm getting at, this,
So,
I guess if everybody feels like it might be intrusive, but you're okay with the idea, then at least I can go back to the task force.
I think it's worthy of discussion.
Okay.
I think that should at least be on the table.
Okay,
I think, I would prefer it personally.
okay.
The consequences.
I agree.
I take it a step further, I would start at the school bus, and see if your school bus driver, any kid that gets on the bus.
You know, that's an interestingly good idea,
That is a very good idea.
because now we avoid the whole thing at the school, the parents are still there.
The kid didn't even get on the bus. and-
Well, so
So if you have a
I don't know
bus on-
how that fits with the contract for the bus, but
I'm not opposed to that idea either. It's just the kids that are coming, that are getting dropped off. We need
yeah,
the system.
well, they'll, yeah.
But at least that already gets a whole segment of your population out of the way. That's not gonna tie up the school, they can go right in if they get tested on the bus. And I think in the recs, in the recommendations,
Hello.
it asks that each bus have a monitor.
Yeah.
So if that monitor, you're receptive to doing it.
So we don't have
what?
monitors currently on our buses.
Could that possibly be covered by COVID money? I mean, at least for the short term?
Very preemptive.
Is that something that could be?
I think potentially it could.
Because that would answer at least the expense end of it.
Who's that?
I mean, we're gonna pay for it one way or another, but
I
But-
think
Who's that?
potentially that would qualify as a
it's pretty direct.
COVID-related
Oh,
expense. Yeah.
How
Well,
about
we shouldn't
additional
do it.
staff
We
for
shouldn't do much
cleaning the
longer.
I
cafeteria?
think that was probably too.
I'll call you back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would think so.
Yeah. No different than, and they already said it was okay for town, like, if we did it for town hall, school was part of the town.
Right.
Okay.
I think all those things should be on the table, at least open for discussion.
Okay.
And actually, that was a good idea about on the bus. I like that.
Because now you still have to take care of, you know, and maybe the right time is as they're coming into the school and not in the classroom. So as they get coming in from their cars, the parents are still there.
Right,
Yeah,
right.
absolutely.
But they'll have to stay in their cars until their
Wait till the
kid,
kids-
yeah, and then nobody's cycling through. Again, everything has a downside,
Yeah.
but at least we gotta discuss it anyway.
So if there is a positive case at the school, what is going to be your recommendation?
I'll follow whatever the state guidance is on it, but, you know, right now, it would be the same as we do with any kind of contact tracing. But we'd have to start it immediately.
So if you,
But we're not gonna know till the test result comes in.
Well, so how many, you know, how do you determine what, anyone that was directly exposed gets an automatic 14-day quarantine, like that's what the guidance is now, right?
It could be 13 days. I know,
well,
it's splitting hairs, but
so my daughter in second grade tests positive for COVID. She takes the bus. Everybody on that bus is going to be quarantined, and everybody in her class is going to be quarantined.
so she was on the bus and in the classroom. So on the bus, realistically, if they kept the right distance, and they all had their masks on,
And they're all facing forward,
and they're all facing forward,
which is never gonna happen.
the maximum potential would be the seat in front of her, the seat behind her, and the seat across her. Everything else would technically be safe, because you haven't been in contact with them that long.
But logistically, it isn't like they have assigned seats in
Well, no, they are going to have a
Oh, they
assigned
aren't gonna
seats.
have assigned seats, okay. Well, that at least
What they'll
answers
do
that.
is they'll sit one here, one there, there's a pattern.
Yeah.
You know,
Okay,
each side.
so you'll have a map of every
Now, in
bus,
the
right?
classroom, it would be almost the same, and probably the teacher. But I bet you that the teacher got close enough. It falls into the time here too. How long were you in that kind of contact? You know, schools like that.
This is just a pure horror show.
Well, I mean, I guess the reason why I'm asking this is,
Yeah.
if you have a confirmed case at the school, we should probably be looking at shutting down the school for 14 days, right?
The whole school.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it wasn't disinfected, where was that kid, when was
I mean, did the kid go to the bathroom?
But then, once they use the, you're gonna.
Well,
Yeah,
that's,
right,
that's where I'm meaning.
That's where that has a lot of merit, as bad as it sounds.
Well, because if you're gonna shut down the school for 14 days, right?
For one case,
For one case,
What are you
and
gonna
this
do?
happens 3 times in the year,
right,
and does it have to be a confirmed case, or is it just a suspected case? Because if
well, we
it's,
haven't been treating suspected case, well,
on, it would have to be a confirmed
it would
case.
have to be confirmed.
But
The only reason why I'm bringing that up is because of all the things that you just talked about with the second week of school. Every kid comes home and gets sick. I mean,
Am I?
you may have a parent who says, okay, you're not really exhibiting a lot of symptoms, but I'm just gonna leave them home, I'm not gonna.
well, a lot of parents aren't gonna want their kids with that. I don't know, is that, I don't know, violent, but I know Darlene's been tested, my wife's been tested twice before she had to go on for surgery. And you would almost have to tie her down to have her tested again, because
It's pretty invasive.
I mean, I took her one day and she was like crying for 15 minutes afterward because it's painful.
Yeah, try giving that to a kid.
Yeah. Right, that's what I'm saying. I mean, you do that to an 8-year-old once,
That is never happening again,
then
yeah.
it's not gonna happen the second time.
Yeah, you would think if nothing else, they would have been able to come up with a less invasive
Right?
test.
Something a little, and I'd rather get my finger pricked or something.
Yeah,
I know in, the Acushnet fire, not Acushnet, yeah, they did Bedford and stuff. He did a Facebook thing because he videotaped himself doing it, but they have, self-administered swabs, so it didn't look as bad as when they do it, you know, when I've seen
Yeah,
people
but-
drive through the car.
Yeah, they're trying
or
to
do you
put
not
a
get it
new
up as
tunnel.
far when you, I know if I was doing it myself, I probably wouldn't go
Be a
up.
little hesitant.
Yeah, yeah,
to get up to your eyeball.
Anyway, we're certainly not gonna solve it here today,
I,
but
I
at least to
do
have
want
some.
feedback to
Yeah.
bring back because
I'll feed you.
Yeah, everything's on the table as far as I'm concerned. I mean, everything is,
It all depends on the cooperation of the people involved, and the parents, the teachers, the school, willing to go, how far they're willing to go with the testing, if any at all. But the least intrusive one is the temperature gauge. But then it gets down to the privacy. Do you snatch the kid out of line, so you got a fever? Or do you put him into the classroom first and then ease him out? I mean,
I think
how do you do that?
if you have I guess my method would be, if you get one kid, you send 3 down to the nurse for the nurse to check the temperature, so it doesn't look like you're singling out that one kid.
yeah, it's still gonna look that way, but
Well-
at least you're trying. You're picking the lesser of the evils, and that's what it's all coming down to, because every one of them has tremendous drawbacks.
If they don't go back, I mean, is there a viable school at home options every time where it says that it doesn't, it has not been effective, especially in the younger grades?
Well,
Well, especially if this, it depends a lot on if somebody's home with these kids.
Right, is there a pattern?
I know my grandson, it's a struggle to get him up in the morning to log on.
well,
You've got teachers too, it's the same as in a classroom, that are probably pulling it off very well, and teachers who probably not pulling it off very well.
Yeah.
They're resistant, but, you know,
Right.
computer usage, this and that, you really have to, if you're learning from home, you can't do it the same as you would in a classroom, you know,
a
you
lot,
have to have a whole new thinking, and they haven't been trained like that, they've only been trained to hit the floor.
a lot of the other issues are if you have siblings. Internet connection, and then like just spacing. to be separated.
Not to
and-
mention hardware. How many computers have you got in the house? You got 2 or 3 kids and they're all trying to log on, to your
Yeah.
point, in terms of using your,
And if you have to print up a ton of paper, do you have money to pay for the ink?
yeah.
It's expensive.
Will you guys,
You know, I mean,
will you stop it? You just add more fuel to the fire.
Well, I don't envy you trying to figure this out.
It's such a short time frame.
Right.
Square footage of the building capable of bringing back the number of students in the school.
So Matt and Kane, I think, did at least the elementary school. I'm not sure about the high school and middle school. I would think the middle school would be fine because it's only 2 grades and they have one section pretty much closed down that they're not using. I think they can do the 3 feet. The 6 feet is out of the question.
The 60s.
I don't think there's enough plexiglass available right now to do every school.
Watch
And,
Stockton plexiglass months ago.
I can't see the youngsters keeping the masks on either. I don't see that working out well.
so
They're
they are looking at face shields too. So we also have an integrated preschool program at Silver Lake. So the breakout group I was with the teacher of the preschool, and she said if the kids can't see our mouths and we're trying to help them learn how to do speech, then
Not to mention, you can't hear them anyway because
Yeah.
they're talking into a,
I think there's going to be a lot of issues, but I don't know what to do for the younger students because those are the ones. At least this shutdown, the kids knew their teacher. Now you're sending kids to people that they don't have a connection with.
right.
So do we open up the school per grade and extend out so that the kids get to meet the teachers, or?
Are these decisions all being made, like, is the governor going to give
No.
direction to schools, or is it?
I don't see that
It's gonna go out of-
Every district is supposed to make up its own plan.
Really?
Do you have to submit it?
Yep, by July 31st.
Oh, you have that much time.
So we have a task force meeting Friday, we have one on Tuesday, and then we have to have a school committee meeting Thursday at 8 o'clock to vote the plan to send to Desi. And then they have 10 days to review the plans to send them back to us. And then we would have to re-vote any new changes from that plan. And oh, by the way, we're not going to tell everybody what's in the plan
Oh,
until after Desi approves them. Is
Okay.
what they told. That's what Desi told us.
Oh.
So we're going to create a public document that isn't
In public.
It's not real public.
So does COVID cover protective gear?
Yeah, can I get some shit to the
Right,
house?
control.
I don't know. If it was me, I think I'd be putting more effort into developing the alternative, because I don't see how all this could possibly be done.
And of course, then you're going to have parents that are trying to get back to work, that you can't get daycare. I don't,
But if you didn't start everybody on opening day, if we figured out which ones, would be the toughest grade. So I would think first grade would be tougher than the senior, Seniors could start on week 3. So that you start week 1 and see how it works with a smaller population. Then week 2, you roll in, a couple more kids if it's working. So at least if things aren't working in week 1, you're not just sending
So
everybody.
you're saying
back to the drawing board,
stagger
or you just plain alternate them into thirds, 1 month off.
So the other idea was you do an A/B. You send the kids for 2 days. You send the other cohort the other 2 days, and then you have the teachers with a camera in the classroom. Although the kids at home aren't going to be getting the same attention, at least you're exposing them
To
to.
some of it.
Yeah.
That may end up being the
What have
best
they
option.
done on special needs?
Well, special needs was another thing that came up. Well, special needs students, because the teachers go from class to class, well, they need to be put into their own class, which ends up taking the kids out of the inclusion
And grouping
program
them
that has
together.
been set up for the last 15 years. And if we do remote learning for all the students, will we do something different for the special needs students? Will they be allowed into the buildings? Like,
They
there are
need-
so many
They
moving
need
parts to
more
this.
personalized attention. I don't see that working for special needs kids, doing it remotely.
There are so many pieces, especially to our district,
Yeah.
and there are 4 contracts that need to be negotiated on top of this, because they have told us that they want impact bargaining.
I don't know how you do this by the end of this month. I don't think it's doable.
I'm not sure it's doing why September.
Yeah, seriously, yeah.
Some states have now postponed the opening of school until October too. So,
To at least give you some time to figure out how it's all playing out.
instead of saying, oh, we have to go, we have to start September 1st, it has to be the distance learning or this, they just say, hey, we're just gonna add a whole other month of time to work it out.
Yeah,
And
that makes some sense at least. And none of it makes sense, but
Well, thank you for the feedback.
Well,
I'll bring it back.
thank you for your efforts, Gordon.
Thanks.
Yeah, I mean, that's definitely quite the task.
so you wanted the chairmanship, right? Just checking. All right, if nobody else has anything else for today, we will adjourn until next Monday. Again, we'll assess it in the morning to see if there's reason to meet on Monday. I think we should keep the Thursdays in any event. I mean, at least one day a week, I think, is appropriate and helpful. Today was good. because
Unless something unusual comes up where we have to
Right.
make special.
we had the opportunity to discuss this a little bit. I think it was helpful.
Yeah. The more conversation we have on any topic,
Yeah.
the more informed and better the decision making will be, so. Yeah, and it's nice to know that nobody thinks any kind of idea or question is stupid, it's like, hey, who knows? It's a new time.
Yeah.
Well, I'm double dipping. I have 2 teachers in my family and 4 students.
Well, even though we've been a little less than formal, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, everybody. Good luck out there. Stay safe.